So in this video, we'll talk about software testing life cycle. So if you are working on a testing project, software testing life cycle is important. Testing is not like one single activity. It has multiple phases during testing. So in this video, we'll talk about software testing life cycle and how it is important for testing a project, right? So testing is not a single activity. It has multiple phases for successful testing of any product or a project, right? So I will explain what is meant by software testing life cycle and what are various phases in software testing life cycle in this video. Watch this video till the end to get full details of this software testing life cycle and to know all the phases in the software testing life cycle. Please subscribe to my channel QATutorials to get latest videos I post in the channel. Click on the bell icon to get notifications of videos I post. So let's get started. So what is software testing life cycle? Right, so software testing life cycle is basically a sequence of specific activities conducted during the testing process to ensure software quality goals are met, right? So it's basically the sequence, right? What are the activities that are performed during testing of any product or project is defined in software testing life cycle. So basically STLC involves both verification and validation activities. So it involves both verification and validation activities. So if you are not sure about what is verification and validation, check other videos. So it consists of series of activities carried out methodologically to help certify your software product, right? This is applicable for either software product or project, right? This is the basic definition. Let us see what are the various phases in software testing life cycle. Right, so it has like 6 phases in software testing life cycle. The requirement analysis is the first one, then test planning, test case development, test environment setup, test execution, and test cycle closure. So each of these phases has certain activities that will be performed, right? And there is some kind of entry criteria and exit criteria, like when the particular phase is can be started and when the particular phase can be finished, right? And there is a particular outputs or deliverables available for each of these phases, right? Suppose if you take like requirement analysis, so there will be certain inputs required to do requirement analysis. That will be part of the entry criteria, and there will be certain activities that will be performed in the requirement analysis as part of the testing activities. And then based on the activities, we'll generate some outputs that's called deliverables, right? And then there will be exit criteria, like when we say like requirement analysis phase is finished, right? So basically for each phase, so there is something called entry criteria, there is something called exit criteria, and there is some activities that will be performed, and also the deliverables coming out of that particular phase, right? So we'll look at all these 6 phases, and I will explain so what are these entry and exit criteria and what are the various activities performed in detail. Now let's look into details of each of these phases, right? So this is the mind map that shows various activities performed in each of the phases. So let me zoom this mind map. So I will show you in detail the software testing life cycle. So as we discussed, each phase has an entry criteria and activities that are performed, exit criteria, and deliverables, right? So let us see in the requirement analysis, what are the entry criteria? So what are the things you need to get started with requirement analysis, right? So entry criteria is requirement documents are available, both functional and non-functional. So functional is basically how the application should work. Non-functional is basically what are the performance requirements, what is the security requirements, and what is the load testing details and all that. And there is a clear acceptance criteria defined, and application architecture documents are available. So these are the entry criteria for requirement analysis. So once these documents are available, so we can do the activities related to testing for this phase, right? For requirement analysis phase, these are the activities, right? So what we do, like we analyze business functionality to know business modules and module specific functionalities, identify all transactions in the modules, identify all user profiles, gather user interface, right? Geographic spread requirements, identify type of tests to be performed, right? What kind of tests we need to perform on these requirements, right? So like functional testing, non-functional, performance, integration, things like that. Gather details about testing priorities and focus, right? We can identify what are the priority tasks that are high priority, low priority, and things like that. Prepare requirement traceability matrix. So this is another document that can be prepared from this phase. Identify test environment details and automation feasibility. So if there is a requirement for automation, what is the feasibility of doing automation can be done in this phase. So these are the various activities in the requirement analysis phase. And so what is the exit criteria, right? Exit criteria means like how we know like this phase is completed. That is basically by signing off on RTM, requirement traceability matrix, and test automation feasibility report signed up by the client. This is the exit criteria. So then we know like this phase is finished. So what deliverables are we getting from this? Like we get like signed RTM, that is RTM is a requirement traceability matrix, and automation feasibility report if applicable, right? So these are the activities in requirement analysis, right? So entry criteria, activities, exit criteria, deliverables. This is the requirement analysis. Then if you go to the next phase, that's called test planning. Similarly, in the test planning, we have the same 4 set of activities: entry criteria, activities, exit criteria, and deliverables. So for test planning, we need requirement documents coming from the previous phase and requirement traceability matrix coming from RT, the previous requirement analysis, test automation feasibility document that is also coming from the previous phase, requirement analysis phase. Then what we do here in these activities, what are the testing activities, is analyze various testing approaches available, finalize on the best suited approach, right? Preparation of test plan and test strategy documents, then test tool selection. What kind of tools are we going to use for this process? Something like Jira or Trello, any other tools that we need to use. Test effort estimation, like how long this project is going to take, what are the resources, and what are the various roles that are required in testing phase. So this is all the test planning activities, right? Then what is the exit criteria? Like what are we getting out of this phase is approved test plan and test strategy document, effort estimation document, right? So these are the exit criteria for this phase, right? So these are the deliverables, test plan and strategy document, and effort estimation document, right? So this is the activities in the test planning, right? So in most of the projects, so these phases will repeat multiple times. So it's not like one by one, like so once you do requirement analysis, once you do test planning, so if there is some changes in the requirement, so we'll update the test planning again, right? There will be multiple iterations where these documents will be updated, but the actual process will be like this. So once we are done with test planning, the next phase is test case development, right? So what are the inputs for the test case development? what are the outputs, like exit criteria. So inputs for test case development is requirement documents, RTM and test plan, automation analysis report, right? So what are the activities here? So this is a very simple phase. You create test cases, test design and automation scripts wherever applicable, review and baseline test cases and scripts, create test data, right? So these are the activities that are performed in test case development. Then what is the exit criteria? So you get reviewed and signed test cases and scripts, reviewed and signed test data. So deliverables is test cases and scripts and test data. So this is a straightforward phase. So once we have these test cases done, then this we have like a test environment setup, right? So what are the activities in test environment setup? So the entry criteria is system design and architecture documents are available. So there should be a system design and architecture document available for this phase. Environment setup plan is available. So what is the various hardware or software requirements for setting up this test environment? So that plan should be available. So once we have these inputs, so what are the activities? We need to understand the required architecture and environment setup. So we need to understand what is the hardware resources, how much CPU memory, and what is the various builds that needs to be installed on the environment and things like that. So I prepare hardware and software development requirement list. Finalize connectivity requirement. So what is the connectivity between this? If there is multiple systems involved, so we need to identify what are the systems involved and how they should communicate. Prepare environment checklist, set up test environment test data, perform smoke test, right? So the smoke test is like a high level test, accept or reject the build depending on the smoke test results, right? So these are the various activities in test environment setup. So once we complete these activities, so we have these exit criteria. So your environment is working as per the plan, test data is set up, and smoke test is successful, right? So the deliverables, environment ready with test data setup and smoke test results. These are the output. This is basically the environment setup phase, right? So then the test execution phase. This is the testing activity, right? What you need for this is the entry criteria is your RTM, your test plan, your test cases and scripts. Your test environment is ready, test data is done. So unit or integration test report for the build to be tested is available, right? So unit testing report or integration test report is available. Then basically what are the activities here? So this is the important phase of any testing project, test execution, right? Execute tests as per the test plan, document test results and log defects for failed cases, update test plans and test cases if necessary. So as I told you, this is a repetitive process. So each time you test, there is some updates to requirements. You keep updating your test plan and test cases. So we keep on updating during the planning phase and also during the execution phase, right? So map defects to test cases in RTM, retest the defect fixes, regression testing, track the defects to closure, right? This is the main activities in the test execution. So what is the exit criteria? So all test plans are executed, defects logged and tracked to closure, right? So here the exit criteria is logging the defects and tracking to closure, right? So what is the deliverables, right? So you have this, we prepared RTM in the previous pages. So here we update RTM with execution status, right? Test cases updated with the results and defect reports. So this is the test execution phase, right? So then the last phase is the test cycle closure. This is where we say, so we're done with the testing part, right? So what is the entry criteria? Testing has been completed, test results available and defect logs available. Then what are the activities? So we have like evaluate cycle completion criteria based on time, test coverage, cost, software quality, critical business objectives. So in the requirement phase, we identified like various estimations and cost, things like that in the test planning. So here we'll evaluate actual completion with the actual estimates, right? So based on the time, how much time does the project took, what is the test coverage, how much cost does it incur, what is the quality of the software, what are the critical business objectives, is it achieved or not as part of the testing, right? So these are done. Prepare test matrix based on the above parameters, document the learning out of the project, prepare test closure report, qualitative and quantitative reporting of work product, test result analysis to find out defect distribution, right? So this is the various reports that are done during test cycle closure. And then the exit criteria is nothing but test closure report signed off by client, right? Then the deliverables are test closure report and test metrics. So this is the test cycle closure. So we discussed right all the 6 phases, right, from requirement analysis, test planning, test case development, test environment setup, test execution, and test cycle closure. And what are the various inputs like entry criteria and exit criteria, what are the activities performed, and what is the deliverables from each of these phases, right? So once you follow these phases, your testing quality will be great for any software product or project. And this is a repetitive process until the project completes. So you get like number of iterations. This cycle will repeat until project comes to a closure, right? So this is about STLC. So if you have any questions or comments, put it in the comment section. I will reply as soon as possible. So if you like this video, click on the like button and click on the share button to share this video to your friends, to pass on these benefits to your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.